Hello everybody and welcome to Reed's Spider-Man Crawl Space Edition. Check us out at the SpidermanCrawlspace.com. Well, I'm back, guys, to review, of course, Amazing Spider-Man 60 and, of course, Symbiote Spider-Man, of course, the King in Black issue 4 mini-series here. So let's get into the pros right away with Amazing Spider-Man. I had to do my digital copies due to the weather and some shipping delays, but at least I'm all caught up. So let's get into the pros. Well, first of all, Nick Spencer and Mark Bailey framed this story fantastic with Peter. Having him actually get on the stage here, actually thinking and visualizing Harry Osborn, going over everything that's happened to him when he was growing up, where he's been now, and of course how he's said many times he's lied, that he has not given up on everybody, but at the same time is it has felt like he's always had to protect people from his way of life as Spider-Man. And of course people got caught along the way, but he wanted to help them because in one way he felt kind of responsible for what happened to him, but at the same time he wanted to help him just because he was Harry's friend in the Osborn family. It's really wonderful how Nick Spencer categorizes the character work here with Peter and actually moves a couple of the storylines a little forward too. We also get some pieces from the Mary Jane series that's been over with actually finding out, of course, her confronting Mysterio, not only about the movie, but the fact that he knew that Harry Osborn was kindred. And of course he says, you want to leave this be, Mary Jane, because it's really bad if we really go there. And also the fact they actually know that Carly is kind of missing too after they got the cut off phone message. And of course we don't know yet too if she's alive or is in some kind of weird situation after the discovery a couple of issues ago. So it's really well tied in, and the artwork is just great as we get going with the storyline, as well as some nice continuity with Mary Jane's old theater, where she of course got her big break, and the fact she has keys to it, and of course some interesting mysteries that are going on too as we get everything ready here with what's about to happen with King's Ransom here, with the two Lifeline tablets storylines kicking off here next issue. Cons wise is it feels like we get the answers to some things, but we're still kind of teased and everything, and that's actually where it's going in. We're here with the cliffhanger ending I'm going to talk about in a couple of minutes. It feels like we finally kind of get a lot of confrontation, a lot of information, plus the fact that we're getting some storylines taken care of, wrapped up for Mary Jane's series from last year. But it feels like we should have had this a few months ago, or at least right after everything had happened with Last Rites. And now we're finally getting them. And of course, the ending where, of course, Doctor Strange breaking through the various little areas to confront Mephisto of all people to find out why is Peter's soul broken. It feels like now the big elephant in the room, or a big storyline of 14 years that's been in the room, is finally being addressed. And it's really interesting, the final cliffhanger, when, of course, not only does Doctor Strange kind of barge in to find out what is going on, since he has a long history with the, of course, dark demon of the Marvel Universe, but it feels like we're finally going to get into some more answers about how this all ties into One More Day and exactly what it has to do with Harry, and the fact that he even brings up the fact that I'm not responsible for some that might have gotten out because of my deal. So it's really interesting where this is going to go. I just wish it would have happened a couple of issues ago. So we're definitely looking to see what happens here. So I'm going to give it a solid A. It is a really good storyline. It loses points to the fact that we should have had this honestly a couple issues prior, and the fact that we're getting to all this now, and also the fact is that Nick Spencer has to play a little bit of continuity cleanup when Mary Jane series, which of course ended abruptly because not only of sales, but because of COVID happening, because that series ended up on a cliffhanger too, and now Mary Jane's back and they're trying to resolve everything as well as still tie things in from back in the beginning of Nick Spencer's storyline with Mysterio. But it gets a solid A. It's really great story and artwork by Mark Bailey. Let's get into the Symbiote Spider-Man number 4 King in Black tie-in. Let's get into the pros. First of all, this is just been a fun story. I've said this since issue 1, but I really like that Peter David really starts bringing the storylines together, getting everything wrapped up with why Oleg the Troll is there, Mr. E is trying to destroy the Ebony Blade, and Oleg's sister and everything. It just turns into a fun part. Also, I just gotta love the fact that, Mr. E is taken by surprise, the fact that, Spider-Man is on in nowhere. He's like, where did you come from? And of course the fact that Spider-Man is actually dealing with, of course, Rocket Raccoon, who he's now met years before he actually met him in the original Marvel Universe. And he's meeting, of course, our favorite security dog, Cosmo, which, of course, as Peter says perfectly, oh, right, of course, now we have a talking dog. Why am I not surprised after the talking raccoon? And it's just amazing because also it's such a great use, and I think this is very interesting how they timed it with Monica Rambeau back when she was Captain Marvel during this era of Spider-Man when she was in the Avengers, and just actually using her compared to what's going on with the current WandaVision series with the MCU Monica, and it really just ties everything really nicely together with King the Conqueror, Rocket Raccoon, the Black Knight, the Ebony Blade, Mr. E, Null, everything. It just turns into a great, great fun story that you think that this couldn't get more out there. Well, it does, but at the same time, it just makes a nice, complete story. And I really like the fact how Mr. E is defeated with the combined efforts of Monica, Spider-Man, Rocket, King the Conqueror, and more. But that kind of reads into the cons a little bit more. As much as the story has been really nice and kind of an unofficial tie into the King in Black storyline that's been going on in Venom and the other main Marvel Universe books, you really wonder how this is going to fit in. Because like I said, Peter here, as you know, wearing the alien costume, this is the first time he's really encountered Rocket Raccoon. He knows, and he's the first time he's encountering Nowhere and of course Cosmo. So it's really wondering if by the time the storyline's all over, if Peter's magically going to forget things or just exactly how this is going to fit in the storyline, especially if you looked at current storylines about when Peter really first met Rocket Raccoon, or of course when he first encountered Cosmo from Nowhere. So it's weird in the end because it's been such a fun story, but it's just weird how this kind of tries to fit into a continuity. Plus the cliffhanger also kind of really throws you for a loop because you think, oh, Mr. E's been defeated, Alistair Smythe has been saved, and all the minions have been freed, so you don't have to worry about anything with Null. And then we actually found out why Alec the Troll is actually there was because the Watcher sends him because he's trying to stop Null. So the truth is, how does this all connect to the beginning of the storyline with why King the Conqueror kidnapped the Watcher? How are they actually going to put this all together? What it matters with Null, since the fact is it'll be several years before Null is awakened, and of course does to the current storyline that's been going on in Venom with the King in Black storyline. So it's really good. The artwork is solid, but in the long run, you just wonder how's this story just going to fit in the grand scheme of things. Even with the Namor tie-ins and some of the other tie-ins with King in Black, because this is a King in Black storylines, it all makes sense. It still deals things with the past, but it all makes it relevant in the current storyline without feeling like it's tripping over each other too much. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all wraps up next month. And I'm actually going to give it an A- because it's a really good storyline. It does a lot of great things with the story. I think Peter David has just done fantastic, along with Greg Land here with the Symbiote Spider-Man miniseries, and I'm really hoping there's another one when this is all written over. But I think the biggest thing is when doing a storyline like this, where does it fit together? Because the previous two Symbiote Spider-Man stories, they all fit into continuity actually very well without making things go too ridiculous and still followed on that continuity without rewriting history. So I'm very excited to see how it wraps up next month, and hopefully we'll get another Symbiote Spider-Man out of here. But great use of characters, continuity, and fun, but at the same time is where does this really fit in the grand scheme of things, and how is it going to stick to landing is my question. So it gets an A- from me. So an A and an A-. Great stories, a lot of fun, and I'm looking really forward to what we got going on for the next storylines. And on that note, guys, I'm out of here, so I will talk to everybody later on the Spider-Man Crawl Space. Please check us out, the SpidermanCrawlspace.com. Please check us on our various social medias, and definitely check out the podcast and the video cast when you get a chance. And for more information, guys, I will see everybody later on the Crawl Space.